Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of Dubai Stars, Rise to the Top. Tonight I have amazing guest. I have Nido Abdo. Nido is a very successful entrepreneur in Dubai, and tonight we're gonna get to know his stories, how he came here and what he's doing right now. So Nido, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Anthony. Pleasure to be here.
Nido, for the people who don't know you, if there is any, can you let us know more about you, what you do, everything in Dubai?
Great, yeah. So I'm a business growth specialist. So I help people who already have businesses take their business to new levels, and I also help people who want to start businesses but they don't really have an idea where to start, the logistics that are involved. So I help them do the same thing. And the core of both is marketing. So I'm really like a sales and marketing expert. That's what I've been studying for over almost 15 years now. I feel like sales and marketing are the engine to any business, and a lot of most of the time when people are struggling is because they have those things wrong. So that's what I do. I come in and I help fix that problem.
Amazing. So let's start with the main questions. First of all, I'd like to know about your childhood, where you were born, how you were raised, all of this stuff. Guide me through it, please.
Cool. Yeah, I have a pretty crazy story, right? So I was born in Somalia. We had a lot of times when people hear the word Somali, they see what it is today, which it has, it's a war-torn country. So obviously it's a very devastating place to be. But what people forget is when you go back 30 years, 40 years ago, it was actually one of the most beautiful countries in Africa. We're right by the Indian Ocean, East Africa. We used to have a lot of people that used to come to Somalia for vacations. Sheikh Zayed had a huge farm in Somalia. It was one of his favorite places to go. And my father actually worked for the Somali government. He was vice minister for agriculture, which was our main income source. So we had a pretty good life. And then one day, obviously, all of a sudden, war started. I remember as a kid, you're playing outside one day, you're having fun with your friends, with your brothers, and the next day your mom is saying, they're coming. We need to pack and run. We need to leave. And the reason she was saying that is because my father worked for the government. And when these warlords took over and overthrew the government that was in place, one of their main objectives was to literally kill everybody who was associated with the government, right? Wow. Which my father was one of the main heads. So what we did is my father, got a small bus. He got all of us in it, and we ran to my grandmother's village, right, which was about a 2-hour drive from the capital. And we stayed there for about a week or so, maybe two. And then when they were coming there, when they were on their way there, we took one of 3 small fishing boats into the Indian Ocean to go to Kenya. Now here's the problem. We were following the North Star, right? It's a fishing boat. It's overcrowded. Everybody's running. When people are running for their lives, you just take as many people as you can, right? And we got lost in the sea. What was supposed to be a 3-day journey turned into a 10-day journey. And just before we got there, we got hit by a major storm, and 2 of the 3 boats actually capsized, and everybody in them lost their lives. And we're just fortunate to be on the boat that actually made it into Kenya.
How old were you?
I was about 10 years old.
I cannot even imagine or comprehend what you just said, what did you have to go through.
Yeah.
And how big is your family? You have siblings, brothers?
Yeah, so it was me, my mom, so I have 5 brothers, right? And that's not even the crazy thing, because now as a parent, I think about, I was the oldest, I'm 10. My youngest brother was 1. And my mom had to go in that journey with a 1-year-old. And for someone who has their own kids, just to imagine how that must have felt, it must have been crazy. But then we also took, a few female members of our family because we don't want them to live in an environment where women were being killed, raped, tortured. We just kind of ran with whatever we had.
And then we reached Kenya, right?
Yeah.
From there?
We snuck into Kenya, yeah.
Okay.
We just snuck in the middle of the night. We stayed there for about 6 months. And then my father had a few friends who helped arrange some documents for us to get into Egypt, where we lived for 2 years before finally getting what's called political asylum into the United States back in 1994.
And I'm assuming you guys left everything, just ran away, no clothes, no money, nothing, no leaving papers, just run.
And that's the funny thing, or crazy thing, should I say, Anthony, because in Somalia we had a great life. We had multiple homes, multiple cars, we were very financially very successful. Well, my dad was, but then overnight, you're nothing. You just run for your life. You leave the homes behind, you leave the cars behind. You don't have access to your bank account, right? And you just run for your life. And you have to start everything over again. And that's what is interesting about life, because sometimes, you could be at the top and you can wake up one day, it's all gone, it's all taken away. So it was a very, interesting experience to go through.
So tell me about your father, like how did he adapt to the situation by having it all and suddenly he's responsible for 7 people and having nothing. So how did he overcome it? Was he like making you guys feeling like everything is fine and he was taking all of the stress, or it was showing on him?
Anthony, this experience taught me probably what I consider to be the most important lesson in my life, right? And we were taking 10 because we took 3 female cousins with us. 7, even though 7 is a lot as well, but yeah. So when we were younger, I used to experience how my father treated people. We'd have people come to our house. Like in Somalia, it's like we have like this villa, and then next to us is a guy who has nothing, right? It's like a creek. It's not like in Dubai where like Jumeirah or you know what I mean. So I just kind of found that to be a bit interesting. But so people used to just come to us for helping hand, and I remember my father used to be kind to everybody. Like super kind. I remember like random strangers would come to our house for lunch. Like, who's this guy? I don't know. Whatever. They're hungry. Money. Whatever it might be. So, right? So then, when the war happened, and we left everything behind, guess what happened? So many people that my father was very kind to. Right? People from, Rome. Like I remember a guy, my father told me the story of a guy who just gave him a consultancy job and gave him $30,000 just because of the relationship he developed with my father when he was in Somalia and how my father treated him, right? So the lesson was, no matter who you are or where you are in life, never mistreat somebody, and always treat people kind and with respect, because you never know when someone out of the blue might come into your life to give you a hand that you thought you'd never need. Because the reality is we never thought we'd be in that situation, right? So to answer your question, it's all the goodwill that he has done in his life when we were very successful, right? When he worked for the government, all the people he've helped, a lot of them came back to reciprocate and help us in our dire situation.
I don't know what to say, that's really amazing. So, you took the papers, you moved to the States. Tell me how, since you landed in the States, what were you doing? Joining school, like getting new friends, adapting, getting the language. Tell me about all this.
Yeah, so I actually remember the first day I went to the States, February 23rd, 1994, which I believe now is the 4th worst winter in the history of America. And I remember going there, when you're in other countries and you see postcards and you see people in the snow and they're dancing and they're drinking Coke and you think it must be like heaven. But that shit was fucking cold. I'm like, what is this? You go from Africa where it's hot every single day. I mean, you get a little cold here and there, but nothing compared to what we came. And I'm like, Mom, a couple years,
why go back?
Yeah, I'm like, listen, why not Florida? Why Boston?
Yeah.
You're like, it was like, you guys crazy? So I'm like, that was just the beginning, but making friends was a bit hard. You're coming from a different culture, different background. You dress differently. I remember I got picked on almost every single day in school. I got into a fight literally every single week. And one reason is because, I don't know if it's a Somali side of me, but, a lot of times when people bully me, like, I'd fight back. I'm one of those guys that, like, okay, you might be bigger, I might be afraid of you, but you're not going to see that, right? So I've always had that fierce personality as a kid, even though, a lot of times I'm like, I should be your friend, man. Like, I went through shit in life. I just want to play soccer. Yeah, but then one day, here's what happened. I brought a soccer ball to school, right? And this was 1994. I don't know if you know, 1994 World Cup in America, right? So we had like this football fever going on, and I brought a soccer ball, and then there was this kid, Edgardo Alvarez, who, like, I swear to you, a couple of days before we're supposed to fight, now I bring a soccer ball, he brings his goalie gloves, and we're like best friends, right? So all of a sudden, all these people came, and I started making friends through football. That's why I absolutely love football, because it really helped me heal in a lot of ways, right? It's not just in sport. Even when I was in Egypt, and you try to forget the experience you've gone through, football was like the thing I always leaned on. So that's how I started to develop friends. So most of my friends, even till today, even the friends that I have here, most of them is because I started playing football with them. Football, soccer, as we call it in America, right? Back when we were in the States. So yeah, that's how I really started to expand my network.
Got into university, graduated.
Yeah.
When did you get married?
Oh man, so it's like, in my mind, I thought I was always going to be a soccer player. Like, by the time you're 21, 23, you're playing.
What was your favorite soccer player?
Growing up, I had Roberto Baggio. Was always my number one guy, because I was a huge. But even when I was in Egypt, I used to listen to him on the radio in Italian. So I'd wait for words like rete, which meant goal, Roberto Baggio, which means who scored, and Juventus. Yeah. So as long as I heard those three things, in sequence, I knew that my team was winning. I liked Marco van Basten, and I also liked the Brazilian Ronaldo. Right, so those are like my main guys, because that's the era that I grew up in. Today there's the Ronaldos and the Messi, and a lot of the guys, that are all top players. But my era, those are my top guys. But growing up, that's why I wanted to play for Juventus, because of the Baggio, right? So that was my dream. And then when I realized that didn't happen, it was a tough moment, because I'm like, shit, man, there was no plan B. This is all you had, and it didn't work out. So the first thing I did was to analyze, why didn't it work out? Because it's very important. Like, when you do something, see, a lot of times what happens is people do something, it doesn't work out, and they give up, right? And then there are certain things that time is against you, and one of them is football. If you don't make it at a certain age, it's tough. But in business and other areas, there's always, you can try again and again and again. In sales, you fail, you try again and again and again. So the reason I realized I failed is because a lot of people doubted me. A lot of people would say things like, there are millions of kids who try to make it. What makes you feel like you'll get in? And then you try to ignore it, but when you wake up and it's 6 a.m. and everything is quiet, the whole world is silent, that shit keeps repeating in your head.
Oh, that's what you remember.
That's what you remember. Like, yeah, maybe they're right. Maybe I might not make it. Maybe I'm not good enough, right? And little by little, I started to lose my belief. And eventually to the point where I no longer believed that it was ever going to happen. And I reached an age where I'm 23 years old, I got to be professional, I got injuries, my mind is not right. What am I going to do next? So I actually went through I don't know what you call it, depression, I don't know what to call it. All right, I didn't want to talk to anybody, I was locked in a room 80% of the time, no soccer career, I dropped out of college. Love life was crap, right? Like, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And then that's where I discovered self-development. And I started to work with Nido. So the problem a lot of times is that we want things, we do things, we go through life in this big roller coaster, but we never take a break to work on ourselves.
If you reach it's dark thoughts, you reach that.
For me, I was like, is this what life is all about? Like, what is this? What is this? Like,
there must be something.
There must be something else. Like, I can't be waking up to heartaches, to feeling like shit, to feeling like a loser in front of my friends, in front of my family, to people just constantly looking down on me. I'm like, there's gotta be more to this.
Especially in your case, you're the eldest.
I'm the
eldest. Be the
eldest.
role model of all of your brothers.
Right, exactly. And coming from a traditional African background, like, everything's your fault. You fail, your brothers fail, it's your fault, right? So for me, I had to find a solution. Right. Because after a certain point, I'm like, look, it's either I choose this path and feel sorry for myself for the rest of my life, and that's not going to get me anywhere, or I actually try to understand myself, work on myself, and once I'm fixed, I can pursue my next journey from a much better place. So I started to go to Barnes & Nobles. And I stayed there for hours and hours. And Barnes & Noble is a bookstore in the States, right? And why did I stay there for hours? I swear to you, I didn't have $10 to buy the book. So I'd rather just stay there, read it. When I'm done, put it back on the shelf and leave. And then one day I pick up a book by Tony Robbins. And I randomly open it up to a page. And then I'm paraphrasing, but it says something to the extent of, look, you can be the greatest human being on earth, and people can screw you. You can be the best husband in the world, and your wife can break your heart. You can be the best wife in the world. Something else can happen. You can be the best son, the best father, the best parent. Your kid can come out wrong. So in this world, you cannot control what someone else does. You can only control how you react to it. So I'm like, wow.
It's triggered your mind.
It just triggered. I'm like, okay. Because usually it's like if XYZ person feels a certain way about you, then you must feel sad. If so-and-so said something to you, you must be angry, or you must... The truth is, no. Like, one of the examples the guy gave was, in some countries when people die, they celebrate. In some countries they won't. Right? So all these experiences we go through, it's all about the meaning we give it to. So I was like, okay, I didn't make it to soccer, but there's like 5 billion other things I can do. Okay, a girl didn't like me, but there's like 3.7 billion other girls. I know one of them is stupid enough to like me, right? There's got to be another one there.
They like you enough.
Right. I'm like, my parents don't think I'm as successful as I should be, but for God's sake, I'm like 23, right? So then I started to just kind of take a time out, take a breather, and it was honestly the most liberating experience of my life. It just felt like the entire world was on my shoulders, and I just felt so empowered that I finally took back control of my life because I took back control of my thoughts. And from there, it led me to entrepreneurship. It led me to reading more books. I just felt independent.
You start loving yourself.
I started loving myself.
And you want the best for yourself.
Yeah.
Without no plan, but at least you know, like, you're ready for anything.
I just was able to clearly see the bullshit that the world likes to trickle on you, right? And a lot of times we don't, it just clouds us, and we don't see beyond that. I must be a failure because my parents think I'm a failure. I must be a failure because my friends don't want to hang out with me. Oh, my husband thinks I'm fat. Fuck that. Like, you dictate how you want your life to be, right? If God wanted other people to dictate, He'd put leashes on us, right? He'd make sure, all right, Nido, you're going to go where He wants to take you because that's why you got a leash attached. No, you're free. But the thing is, you're not free till you realize how to control your thoughts. And that was the first step for me to take it back in my life. And then from there, like I said, I just wanted to do. And I failed at a lot of stuff. But then all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, I'll just try again. Like, it's just like liberating. It's just like you're just living life. Whatever happens, happens. Like, I don't like negative people. I don't like negative thoughts. I don't like, feeling sorry about for mistakes. You just live in a reality-based life. Shit happens, right? Get over it. So yeah, it was very liberating for me, and and it just kind of freed me from all the burden that I was feeling at the time.
So, did you have any friends who were supportive, who were guiding you on the right way, or you just had to figure out your passion, as we say, by yourself? How was it? Were you surrounded by the right people, or? Yeah.
So here's the problem with me, Anthony. I am the kind of guy who doesn't talk about their problems to people. but I'm the kind of guy who's always there for other people's problems, right? So I've always, like, you talk to anybody of my friends, like, whether they're going through relationship problems, financial problems, health problems, whatever, mind problem, mindset limitations, I'm the guy who's always there for them because as I was just saying, I went through a lot of those things, so I can relate to them to a certain level. So I'm the guy who's always there for his friends. If they're going through challenges, if they're going through money problems, relationship problems, life problems, mindset problems, I'm always there for them. But for some reason, I've never felt comfortable enough to reach out to somebody and talk about my problems. It was just like...
Maybe you were the rock that everyone will lean on, and it felt weird for you to show what you think is a weakness.
Could be, yeah. I'm also a bit introverted. Like a lot of people, I am an extroverted person. Like if you know me, I'm the guy who's always trying to make people laugh and talk, blah, 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 right? But when it comes to certain issues, I'm not very comfortable talking to people about my problems. Just like you said, like I'm used to listening to people's problems. So I actually had to go, even today when I told like Anas, for example, like, he's been my best friend for 20 years, he's like, well, I didn't even know that you were going through that stuff, right? Because like, I wouldn't even know that, he wouldn't even have guessed that because I never showed any of that stuff. So not really, like I never really talked to people, but it made me feel good that I knew there were people there for me. I knew people cared for me, I knew people loved me, I knew I had a lot of good friends around me. So that did give me some support, but just I never directly went to them for help.
Let's talk about love. How was it? How did you fall in love?
I've been with the same woman for probably now, I should know this, but for a long time. Let's not really, 20 plus years. She came to my house, and we were young. I was maybe 16, 17. She was 14, I believe, maybe 15. And then it was really true. Like I was like, all right, like. Till then, I always had a lot of girlfriends, but not like girlfriend, like girl friends.
Yeah.
Right? Like not dating. Women love a guy who listens. And I've always been a guy who listens. I've always been a very good listener.
Yeah.
Right? So women would be like talking to me about their guy friend problems, stuff like that. So I've always had a lot of, a lot of girls as friends, but just never saw one as the one. But when I saw this one, I'm like, okay, this is it. And, as a salesman, when you get a very good deal and you've got, the one you do everything.
You gotta say it.
Yeah, you've got to, we've had our ups and downs. Like no one taught you how to be in a relationship. No one knows what love is just this thing that's romanticized throughout the world, but reality is relationship requires work. Are there bad days, just like everything else? There will be days where you don't want to see each other. But the thing is, as long as you respect each other, as long as you appreciate the other person. And one question that someone told me a long time ago that always stuck with me is like, look, it's like a horrible question to ask, but it's the truth. If you're ever stuck to a bed and you can't do anything, God forbid, is this a person that would be by your side? Or would they be on the first one-way ticket out, right? And for me, it's like when I realized that this is a person that would be by my side no matter what, then I had to do whatever it took to keep her by my side no matter what,
It's deep, that's something beautiful to say. You have 4 kids. Tell me, when did you take the decision to move to Dubai and why it was Dubai?
Yeah. I used to come to Dubai, pretty often. Actually, first time I came was 2003. So Anas was staying in the States, and then he came to Dubai after he finished his studies, so I came to visit him here. And I'm like, I was just blown away. Because, when you live in America and you hear about the Middle East, you don't see countries like Dubai. You see the camels in the desert, and you see till this day, my friends are like, hey man, so you're you go to work with a camel? Bro, no, I don't. Actually, we have more Ferraris here and Lamborghinis than anywhere. But going back, I'm like, people just have this total different perception. So when I came here, I just realized how beautiful, how different. There was just something in the air. I don't know how to explain it. At that moment, I'm like, all right, this has to be part of my life. I kind of planted the seed, right? So, but I was still young, I'm still I was just still in college, and my life, I was just getting started. And then in 2008, I still have it, by the way. I still carry it on my workbook every single day. I wrote down my life vision, 2008. I wrote down where I'm going to live, how my house looks like, what do I do for a living. And in that document, in that piece of paper, I wrote down all the, like, I didn't leave a single detail out, to how my garden was going to look in the villa. And here's the crazy thing, Anthony. Like, I'm a true believer that you manifest what you dream, what you envision, what your thoughts are, right? And what you constantly think about. Plus, you put the work and effort to make it happen, obviously, right? A lot of people just think and dream, but they don't put the work. That's where the big disconnect is. Like, I love The Secret, but I wish they told, or they added the part where be like, oh, by the way, yeah, you can have all these manifestations, but yeah, it's got to go to work first, right? They left that part up. So for me, like, I wrote every single thing down, and then just life, it just, I'd come and I'd visit, and I'd do this, and vacation. I brought my family on vacation, and then one day I'm like, you know what?
You're moving to
I'm moving to Dubai. Actually, if you go to my Instagram page, you actually see the note that I wrote in 2008. And then on the other side, you see everything as it came into fruition. It's crazy, like, to the detail, right? But yeah, it just, I just decided in 2016, let's go to Dubai. America, Trump was taking over. I started to see things that I've never seen before. People were more open about how they felt about different races, different religions. I mean, I understand, like, you might not like everybody, but when you're publicly kind of making that obvious to people, like, I'm driving and I see a truck that says, like, go back to whatever. And
where you came from.
Yeah, and then all these different things. Like, this is not the American that I know, right? It's not. And we were going to move from Boston to Dallas. I told my wife, we're going to move anyway. Might as well go from Dallas to Dubai. They both begin with a D, close enough. Let's go.
Yeah, the weather is almost the same.
Well, almost the same, right? But I love Dubai. It's a place where it challenges you. It's a place where it gives you the most important thing you would want for your family, which is safety, right? It's a place that you never know what's coming. It's always, and it's small, but I've been here for almost 4 years now, and just, compared to where I come from, like Dubai is tiny, but almost every single week there's like things that I never knew existed, a place that never knew existed, right? So it's just fascinating that every single time, like, you just feel like, it's exciting, because there's always development, and it just keeps you on your toes. So yeah,
it shapes your mind, it shapes your body, it forces you to be the best version of yourself,
Absolutely.
to keep up with the guys in the city.
Yeah.
How did you get to the business development? Like, where did you feel like this is my passion, or I want to let other people grow? Like, no one gave it to me, I had to work on myself, and now I want to be a business development coach, even a life coach.
Yeah.
So, how did all of this started?
Yeah, so I told you before, I started to read. And then every single time I'd go to work, I had a book with me, right? Eventually, I was able to buy the books.
Yeah.
I was working at a hotel front desk. I had actually 3 jobs, right? So I would do valet, and then I work at a hotel, and then I'd do a front desk at a health club. So one day, I'm leaving work, and then a girl says to me, listen, a colleague, right? She's like, you're always working. I mean, you're always reading these books about marketing and sales, right? Why not just, get a job? Actually, the reason I was reading marketing and sales, Anthony, actually, the valet wasn't a hotel, so it was the same job. The other job that I had was I was a door-to-door Kirby vacuum salesman, right? So one was weekends, one was nights, one was during the day. So when I was selling door-to-door, it's commission only. That was the main game, because that was a day job. And if I don't, it's like a hunter going into the jungle to hunt. You either come back with a kill so your family can eat, or you come back defeated. And one too many times, I came back defeated. So then I'm like, I gotta learn how to sell. I gotta learn about persuasion and verbal skills and all these things that no one has ever taught me. So I started doing that. Then one day the girl says, I've been doing this for a while, I'm getting better, I love it, I enjoy it. And then the girl says, why don't you look at Craigslist? Craigslist, find a different job. Like, go do something with sales. Why are you sitting at the front desk checking people into the health club? I'm like, all right, whatever. So I remember like yesterday, November 4th, 2006. I'm at home. I'm married and live with my parents. And I know in Dubai, it's normal in that world. Sometimes usually a family would have a massive house, and then when you're married, traditionally you might live there. In America, it just means I didn't have money to live on my own. It's a different thing. It's not a cultural thing. I was just broke. Actually, I got evicted from my place after 6 months. So I'm living. So I remember it was like midnight, and then as I'm thinking, I'm like, Craigslist. I've never heard of Craigslist till that girl told me that day. I go on Craigslist. Now, Craigslist used to be, they just started, right? So it used to be a free, for those of you who don't know Craigslist, it's like Dubism. You can post classifieds, all these different things. So I went to the job section. There was only one job. Why? Because Craigslist used to be free. Now it was $25 to post. And a lot of people were like, screw that, we're not going to post. So this guy posted. And the ad said, if you have studied Dan Kennedy, Jay Abraham, Gary Bensavenga, Ted Nicholas, I still remember it, I still have that. This might be the best job you might have had. So the only thing was I had to sell myself. It wasn't like just send me your CV. Sell me on why I should even interview you. Oh man, I poured my heart into the sales message that I put to this guy. It was one of the best presentations I've ever done. He loved it. He's like, Nido, I'm going on a trip to London this week. I'm going to come to the office. So long story short, this was a multi-millionaire who built a successful business. And because of the passion that he saw, I was honest. I'm like, I don't have a CV that's going to impress you. I don't have, a lot of wins behind me. But if you give me a chance, and I'm willing to work for you for 6 weeks for free. Just give me a chance, and this will be the best decision you've ever made in your life.
So he felt the hunger.
He felt it. He felt it.
He knew like you gotta make it no matter
exactly
what.
Right. And I was willing to put it all on the line. I'm like I'm willing to come in and show you. Don't give me shit. Just give me the chance. And I swear to you, I'd look at every single week. I'm like, week 1, week 2. So when week 6 came, I'm like, I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna wait. But the mentorship that I got from him, and the access he gave me, and the knowledge I've gained was just something you can't get anywhere else. Like, we're working at his house. I mean, we had an office, so a lot of times I was in the office, but most of the time I'd be at his house, and he'd show me what he's done, and he'd throw work at me. And then we had one of the best consultants in America, Dan Kennedy. I'd be correlated with him on the projects that needs to get done. So the first major project that we worked together, it was life-changing, okay? Because here's what happened. We completed the project. There was a massive campaign. Once the project was done, it was a 3-day event. We did everything. I did the campaign, right? I was his right-hand man, so like 80% of the work was on me. When it was done, he came and gave me $200 cash. Now, I was making $729 after taxes. So you get $200 on a weekend, you go home and you tell your wife, steak dinner tonight, baby, because my boss gave me $200, the best guy in the world, I love him, he's the man, blah, blah, blah. A couple of weeks later, me and him are at the airport. We're flying to Cleveland to meet our consultant to talk about the project that we just completed, get his feedback, what we can do better, etc. He says to me, Nido, I'm going to tell you something. Don't tell this to anybody else. I'm like, all right, what you got? So as we're having dinner at the airport, he says, you know the project we just finished? I'm like, yeah. You generated $2.2 million. I would be netted $870,000. So 2 things happened in my mind. Number 1 was like, and you asshole only gave me $200. But then the second was like, wow, like, look at what's possible. $2.2 million in a few days where people work a lifetime for this kind of money. Even though it was, I mean, sure, net it was $870,000, but after the marketing expenses and we had a few joint venture partners, but still, $870,000. So my mind just was like, okay, there's a different world out there. Like, $50,000 a year or $60,000, like the way you're brought up in school and all that stuff, that is not gonna, cut it out for me. And from there on, I learned a lot from him, and then eventually I went on to start my own business, basically helping people implement what I've learned from him. And we were in a lot of masterminds and seeing a lot of other businesses, seeing the insides, what's happened. Got to work and network and be friends with some very smart people, from Jeff Hoffman, billionaire co-founder of Priceline.com, to Nolan Bushnell, Steve Jobs' first boss, who also founded Atari. Just to and I'm the kind of guy that, like, if I want to learn something, I'm going to lock you in a cage, and I'm going to download everything you've got out of your system into my brain. Why? Because I believe that the answers are out there, right? Anything you're looking for in this world. Like, if I want to be a really good real estate monster in Dubai, I'd study you. I want to try to reinvent this shit. I'm like, Anthony, listen, I'd shine your shoes, man, right? Give me a chance. Let me learn from you. You've done the hard work. You fought the grizzlies. You fought the lions. You've climbed up the tree and, dethroned everybody. I want to know how you did it. Why would I want to fucking start from the beginning? So I seek knowledge from people who've done shit. I take what I learned and I implement it for people who want to get similar results. I don't try to reinvent the wheel. I'm a D student. Go to my grades in college and high school, right? I'm not a good student. I don't like to do that crap. I like to study people that come with results, so that I can take what's working, improve it, tweak it, put my twist on it where it needs to be.
Of course, put your own character into it and then present it the other way.
Everything in the world right now, Apple, you name it, any company, is a prototype of something that existed before. The handheld stuff that we touch on our phone existed in the 80s. Phone, it existed. Nokia was there before Apple, right? The internet was available before. All Apple did was like, let's see if we can just put all these things together. Interesting concept. Now they've got one of the biggest companies in the world.
Let's kill the alarm clock. Let's kill all of the stuff that we've never, people used to buy, and now you have it all on your phone.
Now you have it all on your phone.
Yeah.
Right? So that does not require somebody to come up with new thinking. It just requires somebody to see what's already out there and having the ability to connect the dots. And that's really where the magic happens.
You moved to 2016 to Dubai?
I started working in 2016 to Dubai, so I was going back and forth every month. 2017, March of 2017 when we moved to Dubai.
And what was the first job in here? What was the first job, or what was the first thing you got yourself into Dubai?
Yeah, I was a consultant for one of the biggest events companies, probably the biggest in the region, Index. So I did events from the demo field to Derma, it's ADEC, I'm not sure if you've heard of it, ADEC, Dubai Derma, some of the biggest events in the region. They were the organizers.
So when you came in Dubai, did you find any difficulty adapting to the mindset of people in here, or how they approach business? Because it's not the same in the States at all.
Yeah, naturally, right? It's a different culture. It's a bit slower than we're used to. I'm like a fast guy, like, hey man, look, we had a meeting 3 days ago, where's the... Like, no, relax, let me be, okay,
So
So I have to learn how to, again, every culture and every place has their way of doing business, right? And I think, before I had a different mentality, like I'd get agitated, I'd get a bit pissed off, like what is it? Then I realized, no, this is how they do business, right? I have to adjust on how the business is done here. Now, one of the main reasons I came here, however, was I felt like the marketing and a lot of the stuff that we were doing in the States was very advanced. And when I came here and I saw some of the campaigns and some of the things that people were doing, I'm like, no. Like I feel like I'm fighting every week with to give you a football analogy, like in America, you're like in the Premier League, right? You're like they're fighting with the Manchester Cities and the Chelseas and the Liverpools, and then you can come to Dubai and like, okay, it's still very competitive, but you can still, you can be the king here, right? So that's why I came here, because I felt like there was a lot of opportunity.
Nido, you have an amazing presence on social media. Like, there is no way no one will notice your profile, the amount of content you're producing, and it's very valuable content. Myself, I've been to one of your trainings before, and I've seen like how people can really connect with you. You have a very calm, nice way to present the info without being aggressive and getting to the point, which I really admire. But I just want to ask you something. Like, nowadays we've seen the rise of gurus. Like, everyone is a coach. Everyone will tell you I'm a business coach, even though they've never owned a business. People tell you I'm a life coach, even though they're miserable. How do you distinguish yourself from these people? Like, how people can know that, no, Nido is different. Actually, he's been into tons of businesses. He does the tons of mistakes, and he's saving me the time.
Yes. This is a very good question, because one of the things I always say is that there are no regulations in the coaching industry. You can wake up tomorrow, if you have no idea what you want to do with your life, become any kind of coach, especially a life coach, which can be a bit sensitive. See, for me, as a business coach, as a business consultant, 80 to 90% of the time is business consulting. But sometimes when a business is broken, it comes down to the person's life, right? Maybe they're going through a rough time. Maybe there's a mindset limitation. Maybe there's a relationship problem. So that is where I intervene a little bit to see how that might be affecting the business. But for people who are just coming in and I talk to a lot of people, because I help coaches and consultants, and a lot of times I'm like, okay, so you're going to help me with your life coaching business, but what is the solution that you're providing? And there really isn't much of a solution. So for me, I'm an introvert, as I mentioned a little bit before. Even though from the world, and you see my social media, people like, you're a great speaker, you do this. I'm like, yeah, but every single time where I get in front of a camera, I have the same problem as almost everybody else that has a fear of it. But for me, I'm like, I always want to be valued. I know that as someone, when I opened up that book and I read that one paragraph that changed my life forever, there might be one sentence, one word. So I always try to be the most valuable person in any circle that I am. As you saw on my social media, I am constantly giving value. I am sharing things that I've experienced, things that I know that works. Another thing is this, Anthony. I've been, for 10 years plus, I was the behind-the-scenes guy. So I would be working with the expert, with the business, behind the scenes, creating all the campaigns. Just like the example I gave you earlier, we did $2.2 million, and I'm doing most of the legwork in the background. That's been the guy, right? I have a friend in the UK, and this is where things started to change for me, and it also kind of helps answer your question. So around 2015, he gave me a decent chunk of money, flew me to London. I helped him with a project. Then a year later, he comes to Dubai. We're having coffee at the Dusitani. He's like, Nido, I'm going to tell you something, but I'm not going to give you more money. It was actually me, him, my brother, another two friends. One of them kept talking about crypto. I wish I listened then, but, but I didn't know him. I was like, all right, man, this guy needs to chill about this crypto stuff. I don't know what this is. That was before the boom went up. And they said, Nido, the project that you did for me, I did $4.1 million. So I was like, congrats. At least you're going to pay for dinner tonight. But then I went home that day. I'm like, and here's just one incident of many. So I'm like, I'm working behind the scenes for a lot of different people. I've made a lot of them a lot of fucking money. I've got 4 kids. So this bullshit introvert, I don't like to do videos, I don't like to get that shit out of your mind. Forget being behind the scenes and come to the front, right? So the reason that I believe I'm different is because I've had 10 years plus of results, documented results. People, you go to my website, you go to my page, you see people who are telling you what I've done for them, right? So now I'm trying to do that for me, but the way I do it for me is through helping other people achieve their own success. So rather than having private clients where I used to have very few, now I'm just sharing my knowledge, the same things that I've done for them with the world, so that for those who are able to take action and implement, that some of them can actually improve their business and hopefully improve their lives as well.
Nido, what do you regret in life? I'm sure everything is a lesson, everything happens for a reason, but there must be something you will say, like, if only I can go back in time, I wouldn't do this.
Yeah. It's a very good question. It's a very tough question. There are very few things that I regret. I'll tell you one. It might be a bit deep, but it might, the only reason I'm telling is because it happened very close to my birthday. Back in 2011, I left the bank to go back to work. And as I was going into the office, I got a very strong intuition to call somebody who was going through ups and downs, but like we've always had a connection. Then I told myself, I just came into the office, I'll call her once I leave the office. So I left the office, naturally just slipped my mind, right? And I was in a bookstore that was very close, and this was the day before my birthday, so this was September 19th, 2011, and then I get a phone call from my sister-in-law crying because this person had passed away. And it was a suicide.
And then go that far.
So sometimes you think about would that call have made a difference? Maybe not.
That's a lot to take in,
For a while I did. For a while it bothered me. It was one big regret that I had for a while. But now I was like, it wasn't meant to be. I feel like God has a plan for a lot of us, and some of it is different. But other than that, there are a few things that like I wish I started certain things sooner. I wish I took action sooner. I
invested in the bitcoins when it was money cent.
But it's like money. There's more money. There's more money 10 years ago. There's more money 10 years from now. So that for me, I try not to have many regrets. But to answer your question another way, it's also like if I this is something from Stephen Covey, right? Like if beginning with the end in mind, and always the end is the end. When you're at your funeral and people are around you, what are they saying? Right? So for me, that is the end, and that is what I have in mind. And for me, I want people to be like, you know what? My life was better because this guy came into it.
That's the legacy.
That's the legacy I want to leave. Like, my life is better, one way, shape, or form, because I've known this person. And that is my main objective. I don't care if you're a Deliveroo or if you're playing for Manchester United. This is something I say openly. My job and my goal is to make you leave with a smile after we encounter. And that goes back to the lesson I learned from my father when I was younger. Be good to people, because you never know when you need somebody by your side. And do it from an authentic place. Don't do it because, I'm going to be friends with Anthony because Anthony, fuck that. Like, I can't stand that.
It's not expectation.
Zero expectation.
Do without any expectation.
And Anthony, everything that I've gotten, people look at my profile, oh my God, how do you know how? Dude, I was just home. I got a phone call. I'd be like, hey man, do you want to come and have dinner with me and this guy? Like, yeah, sure. I never asked for it. And then all of a sudden that relationship develops to another relationship. So when people see that you're genuine and you're authentic and you're valuable, all these doors open up for you. Why? Because every single thing you want in life, be it money, be it a car, guess what? Someone else has it. You have to get it through somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, if I want a great property, great vacation home, I gotta come to you, right? If you want somebody to hire you so they can give you a job, they gotta hire you so they can get you paid. People forget that. So the answer to every problem, the answer to life is be good to people, and that's how I like to live.
Nido, you're a very tough person, very stubborn person, and very kind person. You have all of this in you. Just want to know, like, who influenced you in your life? Like, who was the most influential person, whether it's family or even someone you've seen on TV or a book that you read? What was that most influence in your life?
I feel like I'm like a puzzle, right? And when a puzzle does like all these different pieces have to come from different places sometimes. So my parents, so like my father taught me, to be grit, right? Like you're gonna figure shit out. Right? We have this life, then we have to go to this, figure it out. Right? My mom like raised 5 boys. We were very tough, but you never felt that we were missing something. Like there was food. And only when you become a parent, you realize how tough it is to have that, right?
And keep the smile all the time.
And keep the smile. So that was a big influence. Like all the challenges that my parents went through, yet kept a smile and made us, give us the opportunity to shine. Another person, there was a lot of people like, Tony Robbins and my mentor, Dr. Tom, who influenced me from the knowledge side, right? Where, you're just learning and you just have the ability to discover solutions that other people have discovered. My wife, I learned from her that, to be patient. Like, dude, she should have left me a long time ago. Right? Like, we didn't have much. There was a lot of, there were times like, hey, honey, there's $10. You can take gas, and there's 5. Can you make it to... there were like those times, right? Yet she stood by me. She was there, no matter what, right? And she sacrificed. She's very smart. She's very beautiful. She's very kind. And, she sacrificed her gifts and talents to be the amazing mom she is at the house, right? So for me, I learned a lot. And not only that, not just her having daughters, it taught me, like, look, Anthony, like, we're men. But, we work and we hustle, we make the money. We're not even 10% as strong as women. And I learned this when there was quarantine and I was stuck in the house for 2 weeks with 4 kids. I was like, how do you do this? I will leave in the morning. Hi kids, I love you. Hug, okay, bye, stay home. I come back like at 6. Oh, dinner time. Hug, okay, good night, bedtime. Hi honey, let's get together. Let's watch Netflix, whatever, right? But to be in that environment and to raise 4 other human beings and to have, not only to give birth, that was like, okay, maybe we don't use you. If you can, imagine their pain, but we don't really feel it. But you see the other one.
That's a good
I'm telling you right now, women, I'm like, honey, you are amazing, for me. So it really, and one of my things is, to really find ways to empower women. I think the world needs to give women a chance to really have opportunities to be the leaders, even when you look at the best countries in the world, like New Zealand, women leader, right? Germany, so I think it's time that, we got Trump.
They take over, yeah?
Yeah, we got Trump as men leader. So that was, my best friend, Anis, a very influential person, because he taught me not to give a shit about what people think, right? Not in a rude way, but just be yourself. And that's why, I became more confident the last 4 years. The guy that was just mainly behind the scenes to the guy that came to the front of the show, right? And a lot of that's because being around him, seeing how he interacts, he's very honest. If he doesn't like something, usually before, you drink something and someone's like, what do you think? You're like, it's amazing, right?
That's good.
But bro, you're actually helping the person by being honest with them. You know what I mean? You think, I don't hurt this person's feeling, but you're actually hurting them worse by misleading them. So whether it's with the kids, with my friends, with my family, I learned to really be authentic, speak the truth, whether it hurts somebody or not, it's irrelevant. They know the place I'm coming from. So that was a big influence on me. Yeah, like I said, I'm a puzzle man. There's a little bit of everything in me from other people.
We cannot get enough from you, I swear. I just wanna finish this episode by asking you one question. What did you learn most during lockdown, during Corona, when all of this pandemic started, out of nowhere? We had to be locked at home and no one knew what's gonna happen. So what was the best lessons that you learned from this period?
Man, there was a moment where I was sitting to apply to go and buy milk for my kids. And I couldn't just leave the house.
You needed a permit.
You need a permit. And for a moment, I'm like, wow, like we just literally lost our freedom overnight. And then I remember getting that and walking, and there's like nobody anywhere, like nobody in the streets, right? So, as they say, like, you don't really appreciate something till it's taken away.
Yeah, we got everything for granted.
We take everything for granted. So the biggest lesson that I learned is to appreciate every moment that you have in this world. Right? There will be bad times. There will be rough times. And I know a lot of people with Corona, whatever that's happened in 2020, a lot of people are hurting, right? But for me is, you have to really understand that when you have something, no matter what it is, it can be taken away from you. So I've said more I love yous this year than ever in my life. The people I've never said to. Okay, man, like for example, everybody that left birthday messages for me on Facebook, my whole life I just go like. This year, love. And to a lot of them that I know personally, I'd respond to them. I really appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time. To just be super, super, super kind, right? Because, like I said, life is so...
Never know when it's going to end.
You go to buy milk and someone sneezes at you, that's it. You're done. Not the way to go, right? And this is part also from seeing, Kobe was, even though I'm a Celtics fan, I'm Bostonian, but Kobe's my generation. It's the guy I was sitting in my living room in high school when he was drafted out of high school. Very huge influence. To see that, right? Guy who's done so many great things and gone. So again, life is very short, I believe. It's very unpredictable. So take every moment that you have, to the fullest, live to the fullest, and don't take things for granted.
Nido, thank you so much for sharing all of your experience. It's very emotional. I got emotional myself. Guys, feel free to reach Nido on Instagram.
Nido Abdo at Instagram.com or Instagram for
This guy is very helpful. Reach him out for any advice, whether it's business, whether it's personal. As he said, he's the best listener, not only a good listener. Thank you so much for watching this episode, and see you on the next one.